And continuing with the arrangement theme, it's Galaga arrangement. Galaga arrangement's probably my least favorite of the three arrangement games because it kind of just feels like Galaga. There's not too many differences other than maybe like a few different power-ups, different enemies, and it has a final boss that obviously original Galaga I don't think has a final boss. It'd be weird if it did. But probably just my, I don't know, this like shoot 'em up genre I'm not really a big fan of. So I find this one to kind of be the most boring because you kind of just shoot enemies. That's kind of it. Like every level kind of feels the same. Whereas Pac-Man Arrangement has a lot of interesting gimmicks no other Pac-Man game does. And then Dig Dug Arrangement doesn't have too much unique from original Dig Dug, but the levels are very different because you're not just moving, side to side. You're moving through the level, defeating all the enemies. But I think my approach to this challenge for right now. Oh, and I actually could get. I think you can still get taken by the guy and then get the double ship. And you might even be able to get to a triple ship or something like that in this version of the game. Though I'm going to game over if I die again, so. And this is like Pac-Man arrangement where you get infinite continues, so you don't have to worry about game overs too much. But my approach to challenging stage, do you have? I don't know if you have to beat these or not. Like I don't know if there's a way to like skip them or if it's just shoot all the guys and just wait till it ends. Because you don't have to kill all the guys. It's just kind of wait till the level ends. But I think I'm kind of changing my approach to this challenge a little. I want to focus on some of these like really, really long games, or not long games, but the really, really short games, like definitely under an hour games, because there are a lot I can do, and I want to go ahead and get those out of the way so that I have done them. I don't want to get to where I'm approaching the end of the year and I don't have much time, and then there still are these really short games I never took advantage of. And I think that gives, as well, doing the really, really short games kind of gives a better idea of where I am in the challenge. Because they're going to be really short games no matter when I do them. So if I've exhausted all the really, really short games and I don't know of any more, and I have to do some longer games, that kind of, shows. It'll really show where I am if I have all these games completed, rather than being like, oh, I'm at 5 games completed, but I did some semi-long ones, so there still are all these really short games I need to do I can just knock out really quickly. Plus, I've also optimized my setup a bit more. Oh, the ship actually does stay if you. Oh, I probably should have been doing this, shouldn't I? Okay. But I've optimized my setup a bit more. To make sure that just all the consoles that I know I'm going to be needing are pretty easily available. Because, like, there is a really short PS3 game I still have to do, but that's like the last game on PS3 I'm really gonna do. And I didn't even need to do Rough Trigger on the PS3. I could have easily done it on the PS2. Just would have been longer loads, so maybe it would have taken over 2 hours. But other than that, wouldn't have been a really big deal. That was the last game I was going to do that day anyway. So I don't really need my PS3 like set up kind of in a permanent spot because it's just taking up space that I could have a different console in that I'm going to do many games on. So instead, I've got my PlayStation 2, Wii, GameCube, Nintendo 64, and Xbox hooked up. Because I got done with all of the SNES games I'm going to do for now. There are some other short SNES games that I will have to get to. Oh yeah, also the yellow guys can take you. I think they give you a different power-up if they do. You can tell I'm not nearly as familiar with this game as I am Pac-Man Arrangement. I've beaten this game a handful of times. I've beaten Pac-Man Arrangement probably hundreds of times, to be honest. Or at least close to 100 times. Yeah, so PlayStation 2, Wii, GameCube, Xbox, Nintendo 64. Because these are the consoles that I think I have quite a few short games for. There's also PC games I need to do, but obviously that's just going to be on the PC. It's not going to be a console thing. And you may be wondering, why do I need the Wii and the GameCube set up if the Wii can play GameCube games? And that's because of Game Boy Player. With Game Boy Player, I can record any Game Boy Advance game, and there are a lot of really short Game Boy Advance games to do. So I do need the GameCube out anyway for the Game Boy Player, but then there's also short Wii games I need to do. So going ahead and having the Wii set up as well allows me to do Wii games, GameCube games, and then having the GameCube allows me to do the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance games. And I probably honestly will just play all of the GameCube games just on the GameCube and not on the Wii. And the main reason I'm going to do that is because it's just a little easier to set up GameCube things on the GameCube rather than the Wii. It's not like a huge deal, it's a lot easier to tell which memory card slot is slot A on the GameCube, since it's just left to right, rather than the Wii. I never know which memory card slot is which on the Wii. And then also with the Wii, if you put in a GameCube game, you have to go through the disc channel. So you have to boot up the Wii, let the menu load, get on the disc channel, hit start, and then you can play. Whereas the GameCube, you just put the disc in, you turn the console on, and you can play it. But just a little less hassle with just playing it on GameCube. Oh, that does remind me, I actually didn't complete my setup. I hooked up all the composite cables and power cables and everything. I completely forgot to hook up the sensor bar. Oh, now I can see what the yellow guy does, hopefully, unless I destroy it. Alright, that's just lets you shoot faster. That's not as useful as having a wider range. I think there's also going to be a red guy later. And I don't remember what the red guy's power is. What level am I even on? I don't remember how many levels are in the game. There's like 40, I think. Yeah, and then there are a few other games for different consoles. I've got a couple actually Super Famicom games I can try. But I would have to first find where my Super Famicom even is. I don't actually know where it is. So I'd need to find that. Or I guess I do have a clone console that can play Super Famicom games. I could try doing that, but then again, I would also need to figure out where that is because I don't know if I do. And then there's at least one Sega Genesis game I could do, but that's a game I'd have to remember how to beat because it's kind of a cryptic game. Again, there's one more PS3 game. And then there might be like some Switch games I could do, but I would have to see. This actually could be the best power up in the game. I don't know. I like the blue and the red, but I don't think the yellow is very useful. Maybe it's like double power up is better. If that is a thing you can do, but I don't think it's very useful. Although if you can do a double power up, like let one of them take your guy and then get another one. Would you be able to like mix and match? Is there like a blue yellow power up, a red yellow power up? Actually, are there 40 levels? This kind of feels like this is the last world, but maybe it's not. Yeah, and then other platforms would just be figuring out what the games are and what how I can record them and do them. And there are actually other versions of these arrangement games. There's two versions of each of these arrangement games. So there are two versions of Pac-Man arrangement, two versions of Galaga arrangement, and two versions of Dig Dug arrangement. I'm of those different ones, I'm only super familiar with the other Pac-Man arrangement. So I don't think I've ever beaten the other Dig Dug arrangement or the other Galaga arrangement. I played a tiny bit of the other Dig Dug arrangement, and to be honest, it's kind of bad. Because it's just way slower than the original Dig Dug arrangement. The original Dig Dug arrangement's about the same pace as original Dig Dug, if not faster, actually. And the Pac-Man arrangement's a pretty fast-paced game. And this game's kind of the same pace as original Galaga. But I just remember the later Dig Dug arrangement just being so slow and like really boring. Yeah, the Galaga arrangement, I'm pretty sure is just gonna be like this game, just with different levels. The other Pac-Man arrangement is still a really good game because I mean, just good Pac-Man games are just fun. But it doesn't have quite as interesting levels or mechanics as original Pac-Man arrangement. It's also a little slower, and part of the fun of original Pac-Man arrangement is how fast it is. It's one of the faster Maze Pac-Man games, although I still think the fastest is probably Pac-Mania on the Genesis if you play on the hardest difficulty. I should give the blue guys again. I thought they had the best power up. Or the red guys. Just stop giving me these yellow guys. I don't want that power up, really. What lets you shoot one more beam and the beams are spinner? It doesn't seem worth it to me. But the other version of Pac-Man arrangement is still a really good game. It still is really fun. But it kind of loses as well the speedrun aspect that the original has, whereas the original you can try and manipulate the ghost patterns so that you always get a blue pill. And that power up that doubles you is still in the other version of arrangement, but it's limited to certain levels. You can't get it in every level. You can't force it to happen. It's either time based or score based when it appears in the level. So whatever power up you can get is just based on the level. So if the power up doesn't do much for you, it's kind of worthless. And then if it is good, then you just get it whenever it just shows up. Kind of loses a bit of the strategy the original had. But then also, there's not even just the remakes of these arrangement games. There's also in that same the original collection that had all the remakes was Namco Museum Battle Collection on the PSP. And that one also included, I think, Rally X arrangement. I'm not super familiar with that one either, but if it's just Rally X and you just play it until you beat it, that shouldn't be that bad. It's just I don't know really how like the time estimate for most of them, except the other Pac-Man arrangement is definitely a bit longer. Probably I would say at least 45 minutes, maybe a bit longer, which still isn't that bad. That's not even the longest maze type Pac-Man game. I think Adventures in Time's going to be an hour and a half, maybe. But obviously a bit lengthier compared to original Pac-Man arrangement. Also forgot there's Miss Pac-Man Quest for the Golden Maze on the PC. Now that's a really short one, and that game is absolutely terrible. Probably the worst maze type Pac-Man game because most maze type Pac-Man games, like that's not a hard concept to mess up. You just eat all the dots in the maze, and then somehow they messed it up. Like, it's not terrible in terms of a game. Like, yeah, you can play it, and it's fine for the most part. It's just visually, it's very boring and cheap looking. It's a very short game, and it just doesn't have anything interesting in it. Just such a bland game that's like you could have way more fun with any other maze type Pac-Man game. Which is weird because there were three PC Pac-Man games kind of made in the same era. And I would say that's the only bad one. Because there's also Adventures in Time, and Adventures in Time is really good. One of the best maze type Pac-Man games. Maybe the best. I don't know. Original arrangement is still one of the best as well. And then I also do enjoy All Stars. That was also on PC. That's a very different game. That's not a maze game. But I thought All Stars was pretty fun as well. And I'll probably also do Pac-Man All Stars because that's a pretty short game. That's like 45 minutes to an hour. Shorter than Adventures in Time for sure. Longer than Quest for the Golden Maze. Quest for the Golden Maze would be the shortest, then All Stars, then Adventures in Time. But I probably will do all three of them because they are all pretty short. I would just need to figure out installing them on modern PCs. That's the tricky part of any old PC game. Which, dude, actually, I could do Mystery Case Files, the first one. That game would not be long at all. Dude, if I just did hidden object games, there's no way those games can be more than an hour long, really, right? Like there can't be that many puzzles. All you do is find hidden objects. Dude, is that the strat? Just do hidden object games? I guess that's another thing that's kind of. I did not realize I was getting way faster until it was a little too late to try really mashing. I'm surprised that's just a normal level and that's not a challenging stage. Although I guess you'd never die in the challenging stages, so they wouldn't want you to be able to die. But I mean, they still could have made it to where it goes faster and faster and then they just disappear if you don't hit them in time. But definitely one thing about a challenge like this is, kind of what do you consider a game in a sense? Like what kind of games pose satisfying definitions of beating, and then also to where you're playing respectable games, I guess. Because I could just get on like some sort of flash game thing, or just get on some site that has a bunch of freeware games that are all just really short games that you can beat most of them in 10 minutes. But is that really satisfying for what I want? I don't think it is. But then what's kind of a definition of a game that satisfies the challenge for me? Because I think any game on a console would be fine because those are like actually published games. But then on like PC games, how far does that go? Is any game on Steam fine? Because I'm sure you can find a bunch of garbage on Steam that's less than 10 minutes long. So, I don't know. I guess it is just going to depend on how I feel. But, I don't know. I could do hidden object games, though. I have a couple. Uh, and there's no way a hidden object game can be that long. I hope this isn't 40 levels like I was thinking. This is definitely getting a bit tiring, but this is one of those games that you do have to beat in one session. There is no save feature, no password system, nothing like that. It has to all be in one go. I don't know if the later arrangement games are like that, though. No, you can definitely. Maybe it doesn't have a save feature necessarily, but you can at least choose what level you want to start on in Pac-Man arrangement. So it has to be that. It's probably true for the other arrangement games as well. So you probably don't have to beat those in one go, but you do have to beat these arrangement games all in one go. Which should be fair for games as short as these. I was probably going to do them in one go anyway, but it just. I mean, I hope to be able to do any game that I can just do all in one go, not have to like stop for the day and then start back later. Definitely with how many enemies and bullets are on screen all at once. Got to be nearing the end of the game, right? Because I want to say from my memory, this is in the middle lengthwise. I think Dig Dug arrangement's the longest. And then Pac-Man arrangement's definitely the shortest. I mean, this has already been nearly double the time it took for Pac-Man arrangement. Yeah, I guess I think for me, part of it is just I don't want to be able like I want to have to really find games that are short, and that I can beat in one day and try and do those. I don't want to be able to do anything that trivializes the challenge. That makes it into not a challenge, or doesn't lead to a satisfying conclusion. Also, that guy changed. Oh no, he didn't. He was just behind. They were like stacked on each other. I thought it changed my blue power up to a red one. Oh, so you. Okay, so that's what happens. He instead of it taking my guy so that I could get some sort of double power up, he actually just straight up took my power up and then gave me the other one. Which final stage, nice. Yeah, I don't want anything that's like too easy to find short games. Where you can just like super easily beat them. And then I'm just like doing this one thing. So like with the way I'm doing it now, I started with some SNES games and then I did a PS3 game. I then changed my whole setup so that I could do Xbox games, I could do PS2 games, I can do Game Boy Advance games, I'm having to look across multiple libraries, multiple games I have, consoles I have, and my setup to find the games that I can do. But if this was more so, I found a website that has a bunch of really short games, and then I'm just going through that list, I don't think that would be a satisfying way to do the challenge. So I probably will just say no Flash games, no freeware games, and then probably no like free Steam games. Because that could kind of be the same. And then I'm probably not going to like purposefully buy a bunch of cheap Steam games. Steam will have to be kind of case by case thing, If there it just happens to be a short Steam indie game that's like a legitimate game, that's fine. But doing something like just trying to find a cheap $2 Steam game that I know is going to be super short, I don't think is going to be satisfying for me. But since I do have those hidden object games, I have those physical on disc. They were actually published physical games that you would have to go to a store to buy. So I think those can count. And I definitely need to look at I've got a bunch of random PC games. So I need to see if any of those, if you can beat them. But yeah, that's Galaga arrangement. So what, less than an hour? Like pretty much 46 minutes, just about. Mm, less than 50 minutes for sure. And I've already done 2 games today. And I still have quite a bit of time that I can play more games, so next will probably be Dig Dug Arrangement, just to go ahead and get all the arrangement games out of the way. And then after that point, it might be time to do some Game Boy Advance games. There's some really, really short ones that I can do, including some that will end up probably being a really good idea to do more of, even if maybe it's not the most satisfying, but again, it'll be dependent on how it was published and uh, how it feels to do it. But there's definitely a lot of short games to do. And right now, I'm going through all the games that I have that I know are really short, preferably under the hour range. And then if I have to, I'll go some games that are a little more than an hour, like some of the Crash Bandicoot games or Metal Gear Solid 2 or games like that. And then it'll be down to trying to see, do I need to go to like the more than 2 hour games? Like I think Pac-Man World 3's a little more than 2 hours. Probably some other games I'm not thinking of are probably more than 2 hours. Or do I start looking for games that are probably going to be really short that I can do? I don't know, but that is 6 games completed.